But now what I'd like to do is I'd like to go live to Mexico and talk with Janet Phelan. Janet, of course, is a reporter at large that we have here on Feet the Fire every week. We're blessed to have her here to bring her information so that we are informed of what is going on out there from other perspectives. JanetPhelan.com is her website. She has published in various other websites that you can get. JanetPhelan.com is the best way to do that. Phelan for the Phelan part. And welcome back to Feet the Fire, Janet Phelan.
Basically, what we're going to be talking about today is I'm titling this particular presentation, "In the Fall, Obama's Thoughts Turn to Bombing Syria." Okay, that's basically what we're going to focus on. But first, I want to bring up something else that that I think the listening audience absolutely needs to be aware of. Tomorrow in Florida, a lady named Barbara Stone is going to be held on trial, criminal charges, for taking her mother to lunch. Barbara Stone has been a real estate attorney for some time. She's a lady about my age, and her mother went under a guardianship. And as we know, the guardians tend to treat their wards as human property. And Barbara went to the facility to see her mother and was shocked at the, shall we say, apparently lack of nutrition that her mother was exhibiting corporally. And she took her mother to lunch. And for that act, she is being held on criminal charges, and her trial is tomorrow. And I think that the listening audience needs to be aware of what is happening to people like Barbara Stone. Prior, we had talked about some criminal charges against another guardianship victim named Rosanna Miller. Thankfully, I think enough pressure was put on the judge that the charges were dismissed. Now, pursuant to Barbara's situation, excuse me, my nose is itching. Okay, I did a little research on her judge, Migna Sanchez-Llorens, and also some of the other, shall we say, parties who are so eager to put Barbara Stone into jail. And when I looked at Migna Sanchez-Llorens's financial reports, because she has to report as a judge to the state of Florida, I had some concerns. And my concerns revolved primarily around two issues. First of all, Judge Sanchez-Llorens accepted campaign contributions from lawyers who subsequently appeared before her, and she never disclosed that she'd gotten money from them. Now, according to the Florida Supreme Court, that's okay. Well, I'm sorry, but it's not okay. You get money from a party who appears before you. You need to disclose this to both parties. And Migna Sanchez-Llorens has not done that. The other issue that really kind of concerned me was that she reported when she was running for judge in 2013 unopposed that she loaned her campaign $40,000. At the time she was doing this, she only reported having $15,000 in the bank prior to making the loan. So I asked what I felt was a rather, simple question, like, so you loaned yourself $40,000, where did it come from? Well, at that point, Migna Sanchez-Llorens refuses to respond to me. The media representative for the court refuses to respond to me. The administrative judge refuses to respond to me. And the concerns are basically this. We have a lot of problems now with public officials and specifically judges taking out loans when it appears that they are not paying back those loans, that either another party is paying back the loans or the loans are being forgiven. This is a form of money laundering. So I am, since Migna Sanchez-Llorens is apparently salivating to put Barbara Stone into jail for taking her mother to lunch, I think that we need to ask as many questions as possible surrounding Sanchez-Llorens's financial affairs. And briefly, I also want to say that the state attorney who is so pursuing Barbara Stone for this matter, his name is Don Horn. And I went ahead and looked at his financial disclosures, and I was very uneasy. Mr. Don Horn has been in the state attorney's office for some time. He's not a greenie, right? But he reports having no investments, no stocks, no bonds. And given the level of salary that the gentleman is making and given his tenure in that office, I would have questions. I mean, most people who have some money, they don't stick it under the mattress, they invest it. But year after year, Mr. Horn reports he has no investments. So I contacted the state attorney's office in Florida, just asking for confirmation that these reports that Mr. Horn is making are accurate. And once again, the wagon circle, nobody will answer the question. So my concern is that Barbara Stone is being pursued by a pack of criminals, of people who are either laundering money, failing to perform their mandated ethics filing and financial disclosures, which indicates that they've got something to hide. So
now, I'm wondering why. Before we go into the next thing, why are they so hot for this lady? I mean, she took her mother out to lunch. I'm assuming they told her she couldn't, and she did. So there's some ego administration clash there. But have you figured out? Is she related to somebody who doesn't like her? I mean, is there some other connection?
There seems to be a very strong agenda in not only taking control over elders and their property and their lives, but also to criminalize adult children who attempt to protect their parents. Barbara Stone wanted to make sure that her mother got a square meal.
So it's not personal, it's because she's daring to...
she's defying the powers that be. The powers that be now own her mother. And as you know, I ran into the same sort of problem with the guardianship of my mother, and was attempted, I barely skated through a highly illegal attempt by a judge, Ettinger, to falsely criminalize me. I mean, and we've seen it with Rosanna Miller. We now have Ken Dukowski losing his license to practice law. We have case after case. Robert Gettinger was arrested a couple of years ago in California. Bob Gettinger is a former police officer, and they sent a SWAT team to arrest Robert Gettinger for the act of posting critical comments about some judges on a public forum. Now, no charges were ever filed against Robert Gettinger, and the powers that be decided they really didn't have anything to hold him on.
But he got the message. He got the message.
Well, I think he's still posting. I think he's mad as squat and isn't going to take it anymore, which I think is the appropriate response here.
Yeah, no, I mean, this stuff would normally get swept under the rug, except for vigilance for people like you bringing it out there. So I hope this will get out into the flow of info, and somebody will pick up on it, and the ball will keep rolling and so on until enough light comes in on it for these people to back off. Meanwhile, what is the potential what would be sentence or whatever for this lady if she's guilty?
I am not sure what kind of sentence she can get. I do know that she has been on house arrest in Florida. She has one of those ankle bracelets, where if she leaves the house, all kinds of sirens and alarms go off. So she's been on house arrest for some time. Tomorrow is her trial. And I just do want to say, when I got no response from the court, with these questions about Megalomaniac Sanchez-Llorens's financial affairs, I went ahead and pulled up I made a request to pull up the financial disclosures of the presiding judge and the administrative judge, because frankly, if they're going to cover for Megalomaniac Sanchez-Llorens, then I'd like to know what it is that they've got, what kind of skeletons they've got in their closet as well.
And is that forthcoming?
It's pending next week.
Okay.
They said I'll have the disclosures next week.
Well, what we're doing here is uploading these little sessions from Janet up to a playlist that is now up on the Feet to the Fire YouTube channel. I'm going to try and do this in real time. I set up the software to be able to, so I can like go to bed and upload it. So, and then people can go to either your website or I'll check up a link that I think I put up on our website and can share these YouTubes. You can embed them in your web pages. You can email them with people, what have you. So that a lot of times people like to hear and see video rather than just listen to radio. So I'm kind of getting it on both angles. Plus, you can go to feetthefire.com, and there will be a list of all her shows that she's appeared on. Most of them. I realized I've missed a few installments. But, and these are free to use and spread. I don't want you to re-edit them and have them say things that weren't said. But that being said, everything else can go on that. So anyway, and now, is that it? Or are you going to go to Obama and his loving bombing campaign?
Yeah, I sure do. And I do want to say, I really appreciate what you're doing with the YouTube. I mean, I think that the more, the more sort of mediums we can use to get out the truth about what's happening is, the more the better. And I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, so I want to talk a minute about Obama. Obama has went on to television on September 10th and informed the country that he is going to go ahead and bomb Syria now, as well as, I think, start another bombing campaign in Iraq due to the presence of ISIS in those countries.
ISIL. There's ISIS,
ISIL, whatever. I think it's different brand names for the same generic whatever it is. Well, there's a problem with this. Obama assured us during his presentation on television that he had the authority to go ahead and do this, and in fact, he does not. He has not gotten permission from Congress. He does not have the authority, and furthermore, he's violating international law by, bombing Syria because of the presence in Syria of certain elements that he wishes to expunge. Let me draw a comparison here. Remember the Boston bombing in Boston, at the Boston Marathon?
Yes.
Right. So let's say, okay, we had a couple of, allegedly, a couple of, Chechens who got together to do this. Let's say that Putin said, oh, we've got terrorist activity, Chechens in the United States. I'm going to go in and bomb Boston to make sure that we get rid of those. Okay, this would not be acceptable, would it? Wouldn't there be like a conflagration, like worldwide? If Putin goes, okay, we're going to go bomb Boston now because there's terrorist elements in there, and they're Chechens, and we know about Chechens. Really,
well, I mean, it's the United States, of course, is above and beyond all this. We could do, the rules
whatever we want
because we're the good guys. They could, we can do whatever we want because we can step out and go around the laws and whatever. But the other people can't because they're the bad guys. Well, it's funny. It's not funny. I mean, I'm laughing only because it's a release of tension instead of going like insane, stuff like that. But Russia is actually taking a higher ground here. And I'm looking like, I'm in a bizarro world. What is that, Jerry Seinfeld's bizarro world where everything's backwards, Superman or something like that? Where it's all backwards. I mean, everything is
all backwards.
You could listen to the news and, the official organs, which is most of them, and you could just simply invert what it is and actually figure out what's going on. It's beginning ridiculous. It's beginning so obvious that I'm hoping, similarly in that movie V for Vendetta, when the people were watching the news, they just saw right through it, and I'm hoping that is what's happening around here.
Well, I'm really heartened by the fact that more and more people are getting on to how our country is behaving, both on an international stage and also on a domestic stage. just yesterday I had dinner with some Israelis who were traveling here in San Cristobal, and we were talking about Putin and Obama, and you know, Israelis generally look at the United States as their protector, and I was quite surprised to hear this young man say, "Well, you know, Obama's just a puppet. Now, Putin, he's the real power because he does what he wants to. Obama just does what they tell him to do." And I thought that's a very interesting statement, you know, coming from a young Israeli.
I'd like to know what he thought they were, who the they were.
Well, who, you know something, I think this is one of the biggest questions of our time. Who are they? We know they're out there, but they listen to our phone calls. You know, sometimes they come into our house when we're not there, and you know, and move things around, and they, you know, they assassinate certain inconvenient elements like presidents of the United States. And I'm thinking back to JFK. You know, they do all kinds of things, but who are they?
You know, that's the problem. Is I think that you have people who will blame it on the Jesuits, the Jews, the bankers, which in some ways is a code word for the Jews. They'll say the Zionists.
Yes, it is.
They'll say oligarchs, old money, you know, old world money. But I you know, I don't think that. I think we're picking on people who are in the echelon of those who are doing bidding for someone higher. And I guess the only thing higher we can go would be off-worlder, whether it be, quote, alien, or whether it be a interdimensional demon or devil or something. I can't come up with anybody on this planet who would be in a position to do it, a human anyway, that can orchestrate all this, other than somebody behind the scenes, you know. You have some ideas?
Something. I think that this is a very good question. I want to say a little more about this bombing of Syria, which because I think that there are certain dots that I've connected here, which are which need. I think I have a perspective here that really needs to be stated. You know, it is certainly open to people disagreeing or whatever, but I think that what I'm going to be, you know, putting forth tonight is really right there before all of our eyes, except that we keep getting a lens and a perspective to detour ourselves away from this. And this is, again, if Obama goes ahead and bombs Syria, Syria has promised then to attack Israel. Now, Obama keeps saying, well, you know, the presidents of the United States keep saying, we are a friend of Israel, we are a friend of Israel. And the fact is that this friend of Israel is baiting other countries into attacking and bombing Israel. And I think that that is not a very good friend. I have an article coming out in a few days on New Eastern Outlook entitled "The United States and Israel, a Dance of Deception," that goes into the reports now that are coming out from scientific institutions such as MIT saying the Iron Dome doesn't work. The Iron Dome is a fraud. The Iron Dome, of course, was developed by Rafael Technologies, which is Israeli, and immediately the funding is picked up by the United States. So why is the United States funding, you know, to the tune of millions of dollars, a missile defense system that, according to MIT and also other researchers, they're saying has a 5% success rate? The levels of deception having to do with the United States' relationship with Israel, going back through history and, you know, the trajectory all the way up to the present, is something that really needs to be examined. Because, frankly, if Obama goes ahead and bombs Syria because of there are some people there he doesn't like, they're not posing a current threat to the United States, but, you know, his speech, I think, was about as garbled as his speech can be in terms of giving a reason here, and violates constitutional law and violates international law, and then Syria turns around and bombs Israel. Well, who is the bad guy here, and who set this up?
Michael. They have there's theories that Obama is actually working with because of his heritage, I guess, is working with some kind of fundamentalist Muslim group. Another thing is that some have said that Israel has the United States by some type of blackmail, and something like this setup would be a way to get them out of their hair. You know, the politicians that may have been caught doing things they shouldn't do, and they're being blackmailed to do their will or whatever. And of course, that could go with anybody could be doing that. And the fact that they're doing these things are bad anyway, so I shouldn't be doing it. So I mean, there's a number of scenarios that can come up with some of the reasons behind it, but when you get down to it, of course, thousands and potentially millions of people are going to die because of these games, these politician, leader, ego, whatever, head games by modern...
There are politician head games going on. But there's also an undercurrent of a eugenics agenda. And we've discussed on this show before, you know, for example, the chemical biological weapons that have been apparently released in Africa, and the devastation that is happening now in Africa due to these. We've discussed how the adult guardianship program is essentially targeting the elderly and disabled. That also speaks of a eugenics agenda. So, you know, we've got a number of factors playing in here. You know, we have political games, and we have a clear and present eugenics agenda in the United States that goes back decades. So,
and if you've done a tie in some of your other work, like the water systems, bringing in some type of disease under the mask of being airborne, it can be targeted. Again, this is also eugenics.
Targeted again, also eugenics.
And if you're talking about even the financial collapsing, where you're getting people to put their money in things and invest and have it collapse, and you have the falling down of neighborhoods and cities, it is also a eugenics thing, because when it becomes a jungle, you know, dog eat dog, dog kill dog, whatever. So, I mean, eugenics could be the... but it's really messy. You would think they come up with a neater way to do this. It's really convoluted.
Oh, you know, they're so smart, but I don't know if they're as smart as they think they are.
That's why I think, I mean, we're still hitting, the eugenics is there, but we're still hitting a little bit short of the wide mark, which is this evil that has a hatred for mankind, humankind, and are using one against another and sitting back and having a good laugh. So, I mean, you know, when it says love is the answer, it really is. It's just when people say, well, what do I do? What do I do about it? You know, and I think that instead of looking at a big solution for everything, all we can do is look at our own personal involvement in the world and do that. And if nothing else happens, you're creating good spiritual growth for you and those around you. And if, who knows, this could network around the world. This could all be happening all the time. I've mentioned before about people around me I'm seeing who were really nasty people, all of a sudden, like, turning a new leaf immediately. And I'm thinking, why? Maybe this is what's going on here. So the darkness tends to wake up people, and I just hope that, you know, there's some kind of a silver lining that may pop out when it gets bad enough.
Well,
I don't know if that makes me a dreamer. Not, but
I'll second that. Let's hope that that's exactly what's happening. So well, that's really it for tonight. And thank you again very much for having me on. Okay,
Janet. It is Janet Phelan. Phelan.com is the main source, and then you can do that. We have the book here, which I have up in the corner around you. Exile is her latest work, and it's available through janetphelan.com. That pretty much gives the story of Janet Phelan. If I could,
and interestingly enough, it also touches on a number of aspects that we talked about tonight. It touches on this relentless impetus that Obama has to attack Syria. It discusses, you know, his failed attempt last year in August through the gas attack. The book also discusses in great depth the adult guardianship crisis and others. So the book's available on thebookpatch.com. And thank you for the plug for the book.
All right, well,
I'll see you next week.
All right, next week, to quote Less Visible, if there is one. So we'll be back. So thank you, Janet Phelan.
Okay.
Live from Mexico, Janet Phelan. And we'll be back to continue live with Feet to the Fire after a little break.